Okay, I'm going to read something out of the book called The Relay Text. Something I read before, but something like all this time I had read this section of the book. Well, it's research transcribed and noted by Robert Turner. The relay text. They also did a version of a Necronomicon too. Also, it says this part is the hidden leaves of the Necronomicon, and you can also notice the crocodile here in the front, and the Abdullah Al-Ngalo on the crocodile is the seat of God. So the way it attacks, that's what the idea comes from when you see the deity of the crocodile and having its mind, because it just thrives on killing anything that's around it. But it entails on Atlantis, not as much Lemuria, but more of Atlantis, and that's what I'm gonna get into right now. All right. Okay. I'm gonna start right here. Okay. So in asking me to sketch a film outline on Atlantis, Stephen Schwartz had done me a considerable service. He had caused me to focus on my central ideas with a new clarity, and to glimpse implications that I had missed. And these implications seemed to provide me with a solution to another problem. Why was Atlantis destroyed? Imagine what would happen to a society that possesses the secret of the crystal eye. The priest who discovered the secret would become virtually a god. He would feel literally like the first man. His fellow human beings would seem little better than children. And although the crystal would certainly prolong his life far beyond the usual span, for I believe, like Shaw, that we die a kind of boredom. There would inevitably come a time when the priest would look around for a successor to whom to whom he a time wait to whom he could pass on the secret. Excuse me. Perhaps he might find several successors for Atlantis as a large Diocese. And I was like, I don't know what that word is. Usually in languages, or I notice in the English language, when they use a word that means something way more than what it's just a word like in a subcontext. So I'm like, that's when it means something that's way more important than just one small 5 or 6 letter word, or actually 7 letters. Okay, let me show you. I wrote the notes back when I read this about a while back. Okay, a diocese is a district under the pastoral care of a bishop in the Christian church. And I put in I put underneath that where it said Bishop Eddie Long. It's crazy, right? And Atlantis is pretty much Atlanta. If you look at it, map wise, and however you want to look at it, the pyramids, how they look at it downtown, the Sun Trust building. So I was like, it was just. I always was telling myself, just go back to this book, go back to this book. But I was when I was doing finding the doorway, a pathway to Atlantis. Something told me to go back into this book and it'll find it. So I was like, oh, it's a pretty decent sized book. I don't know if I can really find it. Open it up, a couple of seconds, it came right to me. Okay, so I'm gonna read this part again. Perhaps he might find several successors for Atlantis is a large diocese. So pretty much in what they're saying, it's pretty much become a place of a church, a district under the pastoral care of a bishop in the church in the Christian church. So if you ever been to Atlanta, like this is like the Bible Belt, like in the southern area, Atlanta has a lot of churches. I mean, I'm from I've lived most of my life in Houston, Texas, and they got some churches, a lot of churches there, but nothing like this. So in order for you to have so many churches, you have to keep some type of energy out. or keep certain type of energy away from the people. So you got to give them something that you want them to have. So when you give them something that you want them to have, those people won't awaken, because it's a certain energy in this area or this city that will have the world or the people in this city looking at things a lot different. So, okay, I'm gonna get back to this part. Perhaps he might find several successors for Atlantis, is a large diocese, and send expeditions to Mexico to look for more rock crystal. Remember, they were talking about imagine what would happen to a society that possesses the secret of the crystal eye. To the point they didn't even have crystals. All they used was their mind to talk. They wouldn't even talk to each other. They would use their mind to talk to each other. It's a word I'm looking for. It's not coming to me, but they would I think it's telepathy. I think they would speak back and forth to each other without even lowering themselves to speak with their mouths. And so then over time, they would use the crystal almost like their mind to remember things. They would look into the crystal. It's a certain part of this book I was reading, they would look into the crystal and remember certain things like they wanted to do, like building of a house or rafting or fishing or anything like that. They will look into that crystal and it would come to them like a large Google. So like their mind is a Google or something, but they will look into a crystal and like the crystal would give them the information they needed to do whatever they needed to do, because everything they learned, they would store it into like a database to where all of them could pull something out to use it for themselves. So if everybody had that power where their mind was like the crystal eye, as you see here, if their mind was a crystal eye, then everyone will become a virtual god. But if they keep the Diocese alive, no one can be virtually a god. Everyone will be dependent on a god outside of themselves. So this that's why I say this city is Atlanta is a powerful city. It's just that they have to keep so much in it. And I found out that Reverend Buffon, as they call him, or Al Sharpton, supposed to be coming to the city of Atlantis to this church on like the 27th, but on the 25th is gonna be a powerful day. Yeah, in the city, the 25th gonna be a powerful day. Something even more powerful than that government agent called Al Sharpton is going to be here. But that's another time for another story. That's another story for another time. But in due time, everybody will see. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to this. I can't wait for that day. The result will be a caste of god priests. So let's go back to this part of Mexico, and they would send expeditions to Mexico to look for more rock crystal. I went to this place out in North Carolina. They had rock crystal out there, and they had Lemurian crystal. So if you damn near put Lemuria and Atlantis crystal together, boom, what you got? One of them came from Brazil. That's Lemuria, and one from Brazil was the one from Atlantis, and the one from Mexico the guy was like, yeah, that's supposed to be that crystal from Mexico, because they would send certain people out to Mexico to get their crystals. So I got one from each. So when I'm starting, I might even go back to that same place to build. They have some nice crystals out there. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to find crystal from certain areas. And I might just go drive that little drive out there just to go get it and run back where I want to go. But anyway, the result would be a caste of god priests who would transform Atlantis from a simple pastoral civilization, from a simple pastoral civilization, which is talking about the church again, into the sophisticated culture that the Egyptian priests described to Solon. We must also bear in mind that in primitive cultures, the priest or shaman was someone who was in tune with the forces of nature. One of his main tasks was to guarantee an abundant harvest by foretelling the best time to plant crops. You can look at it as two ways, as planting crops as in the garden, or to plant crops as in the mind of the people. So it's two ways you can look at that. So you decide how you want to look at it. You know, they got the food out here to the point where nobody really has any land out here. So, but they will also do that to tell people to grow certain crops for the certain farmers, but for certain people that was priestly people, they would have to go out there and give the people what they needed to hear for their minds. So, okay, let's get back to the book. Okay, okay. The priest or shaman was someone who was in tune with the forces of nature. One of his main tasks was to guarantee an abundant harvest by foretelling the best time to plant crops. According to Steiner, he wrote a book called Atlantis and Lemuria. I dug into it a little bit, but not too heavy. But it's so far it was a pretty good book. According to Steiner, the Atlanteans were closer to nature than any other later civilization and possessed a high degree of control over the light force. Use the force, Luke. Use the force. That's melanin. Melanin is goes to your pineal gland. The pineal gland is the seat of God, and the seat of God deals with the crystal eye, the crystallized eye, and you become virtually a god. So they're all intertwined. So if you keep a certain people that's in a city that's powerful, a place that's powerful, I'm attest to it. I can say it for myself, not just because like I know how to get around this place, but and go outside of this area and see the differences and know certain things. And it's like, but this place is very much different. But there's so many churches out here, to the point where it's like you can tell a lot of people don't go to church, but like a lot of people go to church. You know what I'm saying? Some people, you can tell some people don't go to church, but a lot of people go to church here. But it's crazy. You can have these people's mind like that if they knew like just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I think it would spark a lot of difference. But it is what it is. So I'm gonna go to the next page and show you a little bit of the last part. You know what? Actually, I was just thinking about it. That's all I wanted to do with that. But that's all I wanted to say. Like, if there was a certain teacher that was out here, I don't, you know, that really kind of helped me to see. Actually, he spoke on this book actually, and this book actually helped me. This is like one of the second or third books I was really getting into with the occult room, and it kind of catapulted me, or gave me a spark plug, and to like get more and more. So, but it just goes to show you certain things can be out here. They know these things about these certain cities, and they'll keep these certain cities at bay by keeping them docile with docile political religions. But to read it again, the Diocese. Atlantis is a large diocese, a district under, let me make sure I get it right so you can see it, a district under the pastoral care of a bishop in the Christian church. All right, I'll show you. Peace.